Good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to you on the sixth day of 7 days Executive Development Program, which is 11th batch in the series. My sincere gratitude to ICI President, CA Dr. Devashish Mitra, ICI Vice President, CA Aniket Talati, Central Council members, ICI Secretary, CA Dr. Jaikumar Batra, and all who have been part of the team. Today, this initiative of Committee for Members in Industry and Business under the leadership of Central Council member CA Ranjit Agarwal, who is the chairman, and Vice Chairman CA Dr. Raj Chawla, has been one of the very successful initiatives of the committee, which has been helping young members in improving upon their skills for managing their corporate life. And we are thankful to you all who you have been participating actively and supporting it. Every session which happens make a difference, and we get a feedback from our speakers and faculties that they have got many messages from you. You take an initiative, you connect with them over LinkedIn, you message them. Many of you I know have been mentoring our members, wherein we have done batches for you all who have qualified in the last 5 years or little more than that. Today we have our speaker joining from Sydney, Australia, where it is past 10 p.m. and he is here with us to make a difference in our lives. I'll introduce Sandeep briefly. Sandeep is based in Sydney and working as National Operations Finance Leader in Real Pet Food. Sandeep in the past served as a Senior Manager Core Financial Planning and Analysis for Middle East and North African region at Pepsi Cola International Limited. He is a qualified chartered accountant from our institute, also a CPA from CPA Australia, and a Bachelor of Commerce from Mumbai University. He has also completed a certificate course on international financial reporting standards from our institute. He is an accomplished finance professional with experience across various functions, including financial control and reporting, supply and manufacturing, finance, and internal audit. He is an experienced leader leading finance teams across multiple jurisdictions and business partnering to senior leadership teams. He has been involved in driving the strategic business planning and performance management process, financial reporting in compliance with US GAAP and IFRS, SAP ERP system, implementation, streamline and productivity projects in financial reporting, financial planning and cash flow management, implementation of new IFRS standards, and setting up of offshore tiered service center. So Sandeep, when he was in Dubai, he was very supportive to our institute, to our office for as a faculty of IFRS, and he was one of the most sought after faculty. So, from this platform, I thank Sandeep for his support, whether he has been in Dubai or Sydney, because he is a very active member in Sydney chapter of Australia, and his support has always been exceptional. So thank you, Sandeep. Today we are keenly looking forward to what you have to share in productivity tools, and with the experience you come in, I'm sure that will make a big difference in the life of our young members. I request all of you who are present here today to please give a big virtual round of applause for Sandeep. And Sandeep, screen is yours. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Pradeep, and good evening and good afternoon. Depends on what time zone you guys are all. I'm going to start with sharing a PowerPoint presentation, and of course, for those who want this presentation, you can also take it. I'll be sharing it also with you guys later on. So, uh, as I understand, you guys are all, you are the new chartered accountants who have just passed the exams in the last 1.5 years, and you're embarking on a journey. And my objective with this session is I want to talk about productivity and how you can stand out in the crowd. So that's my objective. And basically, as a professional coming out, the way I see you guys, as you are all finance professional, you just got your CA degree from India, you're on top of the world. Now, as you come out of your journey, you will see that there are two big pathways that you can take your career in. And I would always encourage people to move across this pathway. So I call the two pathways are, and this is again my terminology for better words. We have, when you look at finance, you can do custodian roles, which is more about financial accounting, reporting, corporate governance, technical accounting. You could be in a tax treasury, and you could also join the big four or any audit firm, and you could do all those kind of work. And on the other side, the same finance professional can be in a co-pilot role. And in a co-pilot role, you could be doing an FP&A role, which is what I did, and I enjoyed that role, really enjoyed that career in FP&A. You could do a commercial finance role where you help the business to grow the margins, to make optimum financial decisions. You could be in operations finance, like what I'm doing right now, and how you can actually have the lowest cost structure and help the company to optimize the gross margins. You could be sitting in a revenue management role where you will drive, how can you drive revenue or better revenue outcomes. Now you could be doing a very specialized role in an M&A audit. Having completed about 25-30 years of my work experience, people try to compartmentalize you into these two roles or two big roles, which is you can be custodian roles or co-pilot roles. My advice is actively move around. So the more you learn different things, the more accomplished professional you will become and more risk-proof you become, basically. So when you are looking at your career, I wanted you to have 9 things in mind. First of all, is that you need to think strategically, basically. Don't be an accountant and just get lost into that accounting department. If you want to grow fast, you have to start demonstrating that you can think strategically. You need to have a global mindset. Gone are the days where India was a protected country or the countries didn't speak. Today, basically, because of outsourcing and the way the global trade is emerging, you need to have a global mindset. And you need to understand business models. So how does the company make profit? What is the value chain? You need to be very strong in commercial. Even if you're doing a custodian role like financial reporting, if you don't understand your business, you won't be able to do better accounting. And these days, people will ask advice across finance professionals. You need to also develop a good ability to communicate with people. So this is where you need to build your soft skills, basically commercial acumen, ability to communicate, to influence people. One thing I find is we are very good at accounting and all, but we need to understand the numbers. You need to understand what's driving those numbers. You need to understand what's the story behind the numbers. When you look at company, and if the company wants to increase profit or increase market share, what levers can be pulled? So you have to start thinking like an MBA finance oriented rather than only being an accountant. So this is all the keys to success. You need to collaborate. Gone are the days where accountants used to sit in one place and they would never be out in the business. These days, as operation finance, I'm walking across factories. I'm collaborating with the operations manager. I'm talking to transformation managers. I'm talking to procurement teams, how we can source better. I'm even talking to R&D people. How can we optimize the product recipe so that we can cut costs, basically. One thing you have to do, whether you are in a custodial co, you need to analyze a lot of data and you need to get smart at analyzing data. And believe me, the size of data has increased. When I passed out, I had a calculator. Today you have a lot of tools. And while you may have the technical skills, if you cannot harness technology, you're not going to be very successful. And to be successful, you need to harness technology to analyze data quickly, faster, in a much more presentable manner. And the one thing as an accountant we will be called on again and again is design and optimize processes. So even now at my stage of my career, the most important thing is I put appropriate processes, controls in place wherever I go basically. So I wanted to start with the roles that you may have as choice with a strong message that don't get compartmentalized into a custodian or a co-pilot role. Flow around and then you'll grow. And the skill set, remember there's 9 skill sets. So that's the first message I wanted to pass on to you. Now, that was about you, but what's happening in the workplace? So there is a whole change happening. So there is a conundrum of changes that is coming. So one thing you will find is teams are scattered. So if you take my location, I'm sitting in a head office. My team is all site accountants. They're all sitting. Some are in Melbourne, some are in Brisbane, some are in factories. We have shared service center in India, guess what, and Philippines. So we have got people scattered. There is a lot of outsource work that is going on. We had 2 years of a pandemic in the name of COVID. And guess what? When I'm now recruiting young people like you, the first question they ask is, what is the flexibility you will give me? So can I work 3 days from home? And this is becoming the new norm. So it's not like it was during COVID, people were working from home. The other thing you will find is that timelines are reducing, the reporting timelines, be it to a stock exchange, be it to a financial institution from where you borrowed, be it to the management who want to results. So they don't want to wait. The results have to be instant. So you will find that when I qualified, we used to close books in 15 days. Now we close book on day 1. So that's another change that is happening and it's there. There's a lot of demand for efficiency. So if you come to a country like Australia or you go to any advanced OECD country, the cost of labor is very high. So if I had to hire one additional accountant, the cost is about $150,000. So I want to have an optimum structure. I want people who can work efficiently. The other thing I find is there is a mix of generational workers. So in a country like Australia, I'm 55 and I have got people who are as young as 21 working in my team. So there are all sorts of generations and we need to collaborate and work across this kind of culture. There are a few more things, and what I find is the workplace has become really technically tech savvy. And in this company called Real Pet Food, it's a small company. It's not a very big name. It's a second biggest player in Australia, but nothing on the global scene. But the amount of technology they're using is amazing, and the word is amazing. And the way you can do things more efficiently when you are tech savvy is the message I'm going to give you again and again today. And then there's a lot of cost pressure. Everything is getting expensive. So people want to reduce the cost. And again, the word, if you can remember one word, productivity will keep on haunting you for the next 10, 15 years of your career, or even as long as you work. People will say, we want more productivity. We want more efficiency. How can we harness technology? So this is the second big message I wanted to give you, that when you're going to the workplace, see it from the lens of the workplace, how things are changing and what you need to do. As a young professional, when you are going into the workplace, be it in your CA firm, be it in your own practice, or you join an industry, to be successful, you need to differentiate. So there are a lot of accountants, but how can you stand out is what I'm going to share. So I always believe in giving messages in bites of 3. So I call it the triangle of advantage. And you need to, and this is again no concept or no management concept. It is my own way of thinking. I always think in 3s. So if I put my triangle of advantage and how I have successfully navigated my career, and again, I'm sharing my experiences and some messaging to you as a finance leader where I'm leading big teams, be it in Pepsi or in Real Pet Food, is you need to have technical skills. If you're going to call yourself a chartered accountant, you need to be good at what your title suggests. So that is a given. But the other thing that you need to be very smart is you need to be able to leverage technology. And believe me, the workplaces have changed a lot. And if you can't harness technology, your technical skills are no good to you, you will not be successful in life. And this is what is happening. Like, you are a chartered accountant, so I'm assuming you got the technical skills. And of course, that's not the end of the technical skills. You will need to continue to grow those skills. So this is a continuous learning journey. And if Pradeep you saw my introduction, I forgot to add that I just finished my CA ANZ. So I practice what I'm preaching here, that you need to constantly upgrade your technical skill. You need to leverage technology. And the last is the two C's I call, is collaboration and communication. And why do I call them the two C's together? The more you collaborate, the more you will communicate. And the more you communicate better, the more you will collaborate. So they go hand in hand. And gone are the days where you could say, I'm going to work in my silo. I'm not going to share how I'm doing things and all. These days, it's an open work culture. And employers prefer people who are open, sharing things, who are documenting process. So if a person walks off one day and the next person comes, he reads the notes and he says, yes, I can do this job. That's the kind of people, and that's the mindset what employers are looking for. So very collaborative and a communicative style of people is required. If you can master the triangle of advantage, or I call it the three muscles that you need to carry as a young professional: solid technical skills and keep improving, keep leveraging technology, and as new technology comes, keep yourself updated, and collaboration and communication and share. Sharing is the most important thing. What I found is, in my days, people never shared. So we never got the experience from others. But the world is different today, and people who are appreciated are the ones who can collaborate, who can work with everyone, who can bring everyone together. So that's the skill set. So these are the three muscles which I would recommend to work on. Now, today's topic is about, what I'm going to talk is, the next speaker is going to talk about collaboration and communication. So I'm going to focus more on leveraging technology. So as a young professional, when you go out, some of you might already have faced it, some of you will see it soon, is that you will be managing projects. So you will be given projects. Can you do this for us? And can you evaluate this for us? Or can you actually, let's say if you're a marketing professional, can you help us launching a new product? That's a project. For example, can you implement this new ERP system, or a black line system, or a reconciliation? So this is where you're going to manage projects as a professional. You will need to document processes, workflows, etc. You need to be good at note taking. So to have a better control. So in my days, we used to write things in diaries. These days, things have changed a lot, and I'm going to share certain things with you. There are some best practices in how you generate ideas, brainstorming. So you will be involved in brainstorming, or you will be conducting brainstorming to generate ideas to solve problems. As a finance professional, you need to be strong in data analysis. So this is a given, that you need to keep improving your skill set. You will be required to build models, and anybody can build model, but a model which is flexible, which anybody can use, and which cannot break down, is the kind of things you need to be doing. And then last thing is, a lot of importance these days is on data visualization. So people don't like numbers. If I give a P&L, they say, shit, I cannot understand it. So you need to understand that you're talking to stakeholders, and you're going to collaborate with people who don't understand finance. So how can you talk to them numbers without calling it numbers? And this is where data visualization tools come in place. So if you are thinking this is all theirs, in my days, we used to manage projects through diaries and maybe an email maximum. We used to document processes again in a Word document. And those documents were in my file, and I would send it across and all that. These days, there are tools for all of this, and they are very collaborative tools. So I'm going to take you deep dive into a tool into managing projects, and you will see how active the environment is and how visual it becomes, and then how people are all empowered. So if I'm on a part of a project, and if I'm using a modern tool, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can see what work is coming in, who's doing what work. So this is what we are going to share. So don't get worried. If you're going to do all of this, modern technology is there for all of it. So if you were to run a project, and again, as I clearly called out, this looks like I'm promoting Microsoft. I don't have any interest in Microsoft, but Microsoft Office 365 is now creating a very collaborative environment with all the tools and apps that a person needs in a modern workplace. But for every solution that I have got, there are at least 10 more competitors who each one is also equally good. So if you are leading a project, and in my company, when I'm leading projects, and I'm going to take you through a live project which I'm doing right now, I'm actually, you will be surprised that I'm doing a quarterly forecast, which we call as a 3+9 forecast, 3 months actual, and 9-month forecast. And I even use a planning tool to manage a 3+9 forecast. We'll go into it. You'll be documenting a lot of processes, and Visio tool has been there, but as a young professional, you may not be aware. So you should get yourself equipped. So it's saying it's like you need the right weapons, and these tools are the weapons that will help you to stand out and differentiate. Now, in Australia, OneNote is a very big tool, but what I find is globally it is nobody even knows about OneNote, but it's amazing, and I'll show you a live demonstration of how I document notes with OneNote. So I'm going to share with you. These days, Microsoft has come out with a whiteboard. Now, in the olden days, the whiteboard was really a whiteboard, and people would stick 3M sticky notes on what has to be done to generate ideas. I have got an example of a whiteboard, but it's got the company data, so I can't share it, but collaborative whiteboard, which you can share across, actionable whiteboard. Again, Excel is there, and you will say, I know Excel, but trust me, you don't know Excel, because Excel has been taken to the next level in the way you collaborate, in the way you can now analyze data, and the amount of data you can churn out in Excel is changed tremendously in Office 365. So again, go and equip yourself with all this. And then there is this new twins that have come out, Power Query and Power Pivot. And every day I use this, and I said, how were we working without this Power Query? It's so good at cleaning data from a legacy ERP system. Within minutes, you can do things which every month you could do 2 to 3 hours work. It does in 30 seconds. So again, you can live without this, but you will be very inefficient. You won't stand out, and you won't be able to differentiate. And then there is a new kid on the block called Power BI. Again, it's not new. It's been there for 3-4 years, but it's now getting entrenched, and it's becoming bigger day by day. Now, again, it's not a must to learn, but what I'm sharing with you are tools which will equip you. These are like your weapons, and this helps you to differentiate you, to work in a more efficient manner, in a more collaborative. As promised, we are now going to go deep dive into one tool and how this tool, what are the systems, mechanisms on how things work. You guys can still hear me, Pradeep?
Yes, Sandeep, it's fine. Perfect.
Okay, good. I'll keep going then. So we're going to deep dive into project management. So as a leader or as a professional, they will give you projects. And basically, in my days, I didn't know how to run projects and how to efficiently track projects. But there are always systems. And look, in my days, we didn't have Google. Today, you have Google where you can get answers. How do I manage projects? And it will tell you all the modern management tools that are available. But you know what has happened is software companies have come, and actually those concepts, they have actually made tools out of it. So I'll actually take you into a live tool. So in project management, a tool that they use constantly is something called Kanban. So if you have not heard, it's a Japanese word. So it started with in Japan, which it means really it's like a signboard. It was just a board, and there were some things on the board, and it was used for scheduling systems in a lean manufacturing, and it was extensively used at Toyota. And look, it's come a long way from there. Today, all the modern IT companies, be it Atlassian, be it Google, be it Microsoft, they are using this concept called Kanban. Kanban is a concept. It's a way of working to manage projects. They are actually using. You would be surprised. And again, I came to know only when I spoke to one of our auditors, is even the big four, some of them are using Kanban to manage audits also. So you can say, how can I use it in finance? The big four are using to manage audits. I'm going to show you an example how I'm doing my quarterly forecast and I'm using this product. So we'll come to that. Used by most leading companies. So these days, a lot of companies, Pepsi and a lot of MNCs are using this product. So a lot of talk about Kanban. What is Kanban? So let's get a little bit deep dive into Kanban. So Kanban has three main elements. It's a visual board, as I said before, it's a board. In the olden days, it was literally a white board on a wall. It had various cards. Now, cards could be sticky cards, could something that you can stake or you can nail it to the wall. There were tasks, and these tasks were nothing but sub-activities within a project or a process. So, okay, I need to do this. Where am I with it and how? And then there were columns, which are, so suddenly there are columns coming in saying, I need to do all this. We are working on the middle section and the following things are completed. So when you organize a project work, it starts, everything is on the left hand side in the to do, and slowly as you execute the project, it gets into work in progress, which is doing. And as things get completed, the cards move to the done. The advantage of this kind of a visual tool is everybody knows what's happening, what's coming next, and what's completed. So that's the thing. So it's the whole objective is to pull the cards from left to right, and you limit the work in progress so that you're not overloading the system. So that's the concept behind it. And the tools available include Microsoft Planner, various names, Monday, and they are all listed companies. So they are already like having market caps of $1 billion plus, basically all of these companies. So you can understand how much the modern workplace is buying this kind of software. So let's give you an example of how it works in real life. So, and again, this is by an Australian software company. I asked a fresh graduate who works there and he showed me how it works. Again, in the real world, it is on a software, it's on a computer, but visually, this is how it works. So imagine you are a Google or you are a Microsoft. So at one side, on the left-hand side, there are users who are demanding new functionality. So there is a whole new features pipeline that is being generated an idea. So some come from the customers and some are coming from the internal company thinking, how can we connect Excel with PowerPoint, etc. So this is all the things that the software enhancement or a software build is going to take place. Now, some of it they can say that we can never do it, so they will move it to abandoned. Some of them they'll see based on the demand and requirement and what is the urgency, they will move it into the design phase where they will ensure engineers are working on it. Then it gets into development. So once the design is approved, then the actual coding and programming happens. Then there is a testing and then it gets released. So what happens is, the idea is that there will be new ideas coming and they will keep going into this, and that is how the Kanban works. So let's go and see a live example of a Kanban project and how I am using it to manage my forecast. So basically it starts off. So let's go to Microsoft. So I'm going to my SharePoint site and I'm going to my Planner site. I'm opening up my Planner software, and these are some of the documents that I have created. So we had an annual audit document and a 3+9 forecast. The 3+9 forecast is nothing but my quarterly forecast, and it's the same thing. So initially, all of these activities were in my to-do list here.
Sandeep, we are not able to see anything.
Okay, because I'm sharing only my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So now I need to share my Google Chrome. Can you see it now?
Yes. Now it's
okay. I'll start from again. So I'm going to my Microsoft Planner. We had created all these documents, but I'm going to focus on my 3+9 forecast. So 3+9 forecast is nothing but a quarterly forecast. So we do quarterly forecasting in April, July, October, and then we do a budgeting with the September thing. So 3+9 rolling forecast is nothing but doing the financials for the balance of the year. So 3 months are actual, Jan, Feb, March. and then the rest is all a forecast basically. So initially, so these are all the complete, all of this were in the to-do list. So when I start the project, which is I want to complete a 3+9 forecast, all of these activities were here. These cards have got some color. So it's a head office is doing, the site accountants are going to do, there is a procurement team that is going to work on certain things, there is a transformation team that is going to provide certain things, and basically if I were to open up any card, let's take this completed work. So it says that we need to have a forecast for purchase price variance, which is what is the commodity inflation versus the annual standard cost. It's allocated to a person called Sean Joyce. He's our procurement manager. And it's allocated to a lady called Maria Wu. Now this lady is assisting, is a finance person assisting the procurement team. It's a procurement work. It shows that it is completed. Its due date was 22nd. So it got completed on time. And there were various checklists. So first is use 3+9 and create a commodity model. Then procurement team to update and reflect current prices. They needed to review it with the team internally. And then they needed to review it with Joseph, who is our operations director. And all of this got completed on due date. You could add an attachment. You can add your comments here. And you can move things from your bucket. So for example, let's say this one, which is creating a head office budget for 3+9 forecast. It's marked to me. It's in my to-do list. I have not started it. So it's saying not started. Now, if I start working on it, I'll just say it's in progress and I'll say move it to bucket in progress. And basically it's supposed to be finished by 26. So I'm started working on it. I can click something in the description and type some comments. I can add attachments. If my Excel files are here, I can put comments. And then if I close it, now it's already gone into in progress. And if I finish it, I can update it and I can move it from here to completed under review and complete. The beauty of this is it's all visual. It tells me what's happening. It also tells me that right now it's a critical stage where the sites are working on the forecast and all of it is due on 26th, which is next Tuesday. And we are at a critical stage, and then there is a high level forecast which is under review, which I have provided to the management saying, look, the commodity inflation is very heavy and we are going to be adverse to the budget. So I'm waiting for an outcome, because some of the outcomes that I will get, I will need to pass on as a feedback for these people on Monday to update their forecast. Now, the beauty of this is you can see all the members. If I change anything and I assign a new task to anybody, they will straight away get an email in their work saying Sandeep has assigned this. They can all come here. And now the beauty of this is I can filter. So if I am Maria, I can filter by Maria and I can see she's got nothing outstanding. So her work is all finished. If I am me, it shows that I got a lot of things which are not started and a lot of things are under progress. So I need to do a lot more right now. And the other thing is you can see it in a schedule view. Now this is the beauty of a modern tool is suddenly you can see it as a calendar. You can see it as a charts to see how the progress is stacking. Not started is 2, in progress is 6. There is no late right now and we have completed 5 activities. All sorts of filtering. You can group by buckets, so you can see how much is in progress, what is happening here. You can filter by different ways. You can filter it by member. You can have a filter by a schedule view. So what I wanted to say and I wanted to demonstrate here is for each of the things that you're going to face as a professional, there are tools available. And these tools are collaborative tools. So the moment I do anything, it will trigger an email and people will get emails to things. And again, see the beauty of all this. It's so visual. So if I give my operations director access to him, let's say if I invite him, he will get an email to say that this is Sandeep is asking you to come and see the work that we are planning out. He can come and visually see if we are late on anything, where he needs to press buttons, and it's all connected. So this is the beauty of this collaborative tools, modern generation tools is it's not on a board stuck. The sticky notes are not falling apart. It's all there. You can see it. there are certain things which are urgent or important. It's written also. This is very important step. So visually, on one glance, I know where I'm standing with my 3+9 forecast. I will breathe. I'll let people see it. And this is a live example of a finance process managed as a project, visually, with people knowing. So if I'm a Yatla site person, if I come here, I know my deadline is 26th. If I were to see it in a schedule view, I can know till today what has happened and what has not happened. So today I should have gotten the clearance for the high level 3+9 forecast. It's still in gray. That means it's not approved yet. So this is now getting late, which is 22nd, whereas these are all coming up deadline. So there are 4 tasks on 26th April that needs to be presented to keep the project on track. And the beauty is it's visually, you can change it in a glance and see. And again, the filtering is, I think the best feature is like, I know suddenly if there are a lot of boards on it, I can filter by my name and I know instantly where do I stand on this project basically. So if there are 3-4 tasks which I have allocated to somebody, he can just filter on what am I doing in this first of all, and then visually seeing how the whole project is tracking. So with that, we go back to the presentation. Now let me first set it up. You guys can see my PowerPoint now?
Yes, Sandeep, it's coming.
Okay, I'm going to put it in the PowerPoint view. So essentially, what the modern software companies have done is they have made this whole Kanban project management system into a more collaborative approach and visually. So again, if I were to say, what's the benefit of this tool? In my days, I didn't even know how to run projects. Today, you guys have got so much things, but to use this and come out and stand and differentiate, you need to understand all the products available and you need to start learning. So you got your technical qualification right now, but are you going to be optimum at work? You need to have this knowledge of these tools and how to use these tools. So again, why do you use Kanban? So I call it madness to method. So if you saw a 3+9 forecast, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't even know what is due today unless I keep notes of it or I do certain things. And definitely not everyone else around me would have known that what they are due. Now, I've given our operations director access to this, he knows where the project is or what work is still left to complete so what I find is the modern, and this applies, these things are all applying to almost all the software. They are very agile. So they are agile, they're very collaborative, and pull versus push approach, they are visual. So all this modern software is, they give everyone visual to see how the work is going. They keep everyone on the same page. So once you reach that site, and that site link is, the moment I give access to, I add a member, they all have access to that thing. It also, we are able to manage the workload. So remember, we don't have the modern workplace. We are going to use less people to do more work. It also avoids overload of people. It drives responsibility and accounting. So all these tools are designed for collaboration and to drive responsibility and accountability. And the focus is on what to do. So this is mostly applicable to Kanban, but some of it is applicable to all the softwares that are around it. So let's continue further. I'm going to bring about again the same visual slide that we spoke about earlier. I'll briefly show you how Visio looks for those who have not seen Visio. So again, I just picked up a drawing. I can't show anything that belongs to the company, but a Visio is like a process-oriented tool, and let me make it big. So what you can do is you can document processes very well. So this is how it works. That's Visio. I promised you I'll show you OneNote. So OneNote is, instead of having a diary, it's an electronic diary. The advantage of the electronic diary is you can move things very fast. So this is my finance. It's in costing. How does the routing and work center work? What's the master data? What does the budget alignment look like? What's the questions on Ingleburn budget? So if I'm sitting in an Ingleburn budget meeting, what were my questions? How does the bill of material look like? is the product costing consistency or not, some of the questions I have got, the tasks that I have got. If I look at a different site, who's the manager? So this is a documenting tool. If I go, can you see this one or no? Sorry, Pradeep.
Sorry, Sandeep. No, we have some challenges. If you can reshare it, then.
Okay. So I'm going to show you Visio first. The Visio is here, and the way you guys can see the Visio document.
Yes. You can
So
see.
this is a processed documentation document, and as you can see, it's visually showing how to do. And this is like, rather than doing in a pen or a paper and using PowerPoint and just creating objects, it's all linked. Even if I move it, the hierarchy is not broken. So that was an example of Visio. I'm going to again stop sharing, and I'm going to quickly show you OneNote. So that's an example of my OneNote, and if you see here, all my documentation is here. The objective is, and then if there are sub pages like I had in one of the things, you can see the sub pages are here. So that's an example of basically OneNote. So again, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, and very quickly I'm going to bring the PowerPoint up again. And so as a professional, you're going to be involved in projects. One of the suggested tools is Project Planner, Microsoft Planner. Visios is to document processes and flowchart. OneNote is to take your notes. There's Power BI, Excel and all. There is a lot of data available on this. And this is very critical if you're going to be calling yourself accountant, because this is where you will do data analysis. Whiteboard is again ideas generation and all that kind of tool. So friends, look, as you start your career, I will again like to take you through the triangle of advantage, as I call it. You can be successful only on your technical skills. But if you really want to be productive, you need to harness all the three muscles. So you need to keep gaining on your technical skills. You need to continuously think about leveraging your technology skills, and then you need to be collaborative and communicating. If you leverage technology, they will make it more collaborative, and basically it will also help you in communicating and being and driving increased productivity. So these modern tools are all there to help you to differentiate and stand out. Like in my days, again, we had calculators and pieces of pen and paper, and we didn't know how to differentiate between one colleague to another colleague. Here, if you can drive that advantage, this triangle of advantage, and keep building the three muscles, and if you can progress from custodian to co-pilot roles and keep getting cross-skilled, you will always be successful if you have that skill sets also. So if you watch out all these things, it will help you a lot in your career growth, and you will go on an accelerated career path. So with that, I think I'm going to close the presentation. The last thing I always communicate to everyone, Pradeep is not going to like this, but you're qualified. Australia has a lot of demand for chartered accountants. People who want to do skill migration come and work in Australia, great country. Sydney is a beautiful cosmopolitan city. So, and as chartered accountants, you are in the skilled category. If people who want to work overseas or permanently move overseas and get a different passport, then Australia is a destination I would like to cross-sell to you, basically. And as Pradeep said, if you would like to collaborate and talk to me more about ideas and how you want to navigate your career, or if you want to come to Australia, we have a big chapter here. We have a lot of assistance for new members, how they, when they come, how to navigate the place and how they can be successful here. So you can look me up on LinkedIn, the same name, Sandeep Vanjara. So you can find me. And look, we are there to help you out, but I would also strongly recommend if you want to take an overseas experience or you want to permanently live in Australia, this is a beautiful destination. So with that, I will close. If there are questions, Pradeep, and then we can start taking questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandeep. And I would be very happy seeing our young members, those who wish to relocate to Australia to have a successful career in the country. And, our focus has always been on overseas opportunities also when we are doing these ETB programs because there are large number of our members who join from different countries, and that automatically becomes part of it. Uh, coming, I would ask you a question on, want to extend this dialogue of opportunities on Australia briefly. We did cover Australia in another ATP program, but we are not covering here, so we can take advantage of it as we still have 10 minutes to go. But I had heard that normally a member would be looking to relocate to Australia or work in Australia if he wants to settle in Australia for a very long period. Unlike how our thinking is when we are relocating to Middle East, that we may stay for a few years and then go back, which doesn't happen. But as you get a citizenship in Australia, you will be living for a longer time. So I'd heard that if I make the move early, that would benefit me in terms of my higher points and rankings instead of when if I have crossed the age of 40, then it becomes difficult. So that is one point. Another point is if I'm looking at it too early and I do not have the requisite experience, then how I can manage. So my question is to how to balance between the age and the experience and then relocate to Australia.
Okay, so that's a good question. So the maximum points you get when you have the professional qualification and some work experience. So the ideal age to immigrate to Australia is around the 30 to 35. Beyond 35, you're pulling it too late. Maybe you can start at 28 because the paperwork takes some time, but you get maximum points when you have 5-6 years work experience and you have professional qualification. Once you have the work experience, again, Australia is a tough place, so it's not that easy. Like when you come here, initially the overseas experience is difficult to get recognition because people could be working for a Pepsi, it's an instant name, and people could be working for XYZ company in India. Nobody knows, so that is one watch out. But generally, if you have good work experience, getting into Australia at that age of 28-30 is the ideal time. The salaries are good. Accounting as a profession is literally, I've been here now for 15-20 years. It's almost like recession proof. There's always a shortage of accountants. Right now, even I have heard that the Big Four are ready to even give you working visas. So they will pay for the working visas to bring you here. And then once you are here, you can take the PR. My preferred route is always apply for a PR on your own and then come, then you are independent, but you can go with a company also. So a lot of multinationals, because there is such a staff shortage, is we are actually, even my company, we had to actually give people work visas. So we have to sponsor people. And then basically once they are here and they are there for 2-3 years and their experience is also recognized, then they get given something called a permanent residency. And then once you are a permanent resident for 3 years and you are in the country, 3 to 4 years, the rules keeps changing. Then you go towards becoming a permanent citizen. So that is where you get your passport. Now, look, like every country, things are becoming difficult. So if people are interested, they plan and they stick to the timelines. Ideal time is apply around when you're 28. You should move out of the country between 30 to 35. With some work experience, preferably with recognized companies so that you have ease here. And let's say if you're working for a Pepsi or a Mars or a Nestle, most probably you will get a job in the same company here. So when you're coming there, you have to keep, and that's why you have to collaborate, communicate. Again, this is important so that when you're coming here, there is a people in the system know that so and so from Nestle is coming. So when I came, my first job was with Mars, and I was working for Mars in Dubai. And guess what? When I was resigning, they said, "Don't resign. We'll give you a job in Central Coast." So I got a job in Australia in Mars. So if that happens, that is the ideal environment, basically.
Yeah, so you brought out a very beautiful point from your own story, Sandeep, that if that happens, and the similar, we had seen on the first day of our program also when we had a member from Sweden who had spoken on opportunities in Europe. And for him also the case was same, that it was an internal kind of a transfer when he moved from Gujarat in India to Sweden. So that's an ideal environment, and my question was related to it only, that if this does not happen, if I do not get a job in that same organization, and I'm coming on PR to Australia and then searching for a job, then it may always be that I may have to compromise on the level of a job in which I am in. Right. And in that scenario, and I have heard that that has happened with many of our members, but later on, when they have proven their capability, they have grown very fast in it. So, in case I have to compromise on this, how to keep myself motivated when working on a junior position, working hard, and then moving up the ranks quickly. So, if you can
Look,
share some
yeah. So
experience
look,
on that.
in Australia, anybody who's ready to work, people look upon them positively. So even when you go to the supermarket, the cleaners and all, you have to wish hello and hi. So there is nothing that you're doing a lower level work. That's the first thing. Secondly, look, Australia, unlike other countries, the pay structures are not that far off. So even if you're on a low scale and a high scale, the average salaries is not that much apart, because there is a lot of minimum wages rules around that. Now, when you come initially, when you are new, look, our chapter is also trying to help people to gain the experience. So again, my advice is you should carry enough funds that you can fund yourself for 6 months, basically. Now, 6 months is an extreme period, but if you have that kind of funding, then you are relatively safe, basically. And look, Australia has a lot of social welfare, but they kick in only when you become a PR. So you have to remember that you won't get all the entitlements. There's a lot of good entitlements here. There is a lot of social welfare. But your aim should never be that I'm going to be on that, first of all. And that is only applies when you become a PR or a citizen. So
Right.
the initial journey is always hard. It's like anywhere in the world where you're going to start a new career or a new move or a new industry. Even if you were to move interstate without a job, it's the same challenge basically in India. But what I
Right.
find is careers are very rewarding. Employers these days, the acceptability of brand Indian CA is much higher than when I started my life here.
Right.
People would look down, they would ask questions and all. Today, the acceptance of an Indian chartered accountant degree is significantly higher than what we ever had. The brand value is there. Our chapter has also been able to lobby. So we now have joint forums with CA, ANZ, CPA, and those guys are also. And look, when you come here, these days, when I did my CPA, I had to do all the 8 modules. I did the whole course from scratch. Today, if you come here, you have to do only one paper and you will get the CPA title. So life is much easier than when we started, and careers are very rewarding here. So once the initial 6-7 months journey is over, the lifestyle, the country, beautiful.
Yeah. So, Sandeep, as you said that our brand value is much higher, there's a related question by Deepak, who is asking if we compulsorily need CPA qualification or another local body accounting qualification to work in
Okay.
Australia, or
So
we
that's a
can
good
manage
question.
without.
So
Yeah.
there are a lot of Indian chartered accountants who have not taken either degree. My thinking is different. Again, I always believe that triangle of advantage. You need to keep rehearsing your skill set. You need to keep building on your. Look, the CPA course is completely different from what you learn at a chartered accountancy course. So it's more about commercial finance. Now, that's my view. Uh, it does help. So Deepak, the question answering your question is, people here sometimes are fickle and they say we want a CPA title or a CANZ qualified person. And you may think that's a big challenge. It's only one paper away. So it's not that difficult. The examination structure is also not like India where we have certain pass factors and all that. Here it is more about a band and the pass mark is very high. So again, I don't know the latest statistics, but in my time it was like at least 60% of the people would pass. So there is a bigger chance. The exams are all easy. Like when I did my CPA ANZ, I got a high distinction in all the subjects, except one where I got a distinction. I used to study, but look, it's not that difficult. And if you already working for a big four or a multinational and you straight away enter, you don't need it. But it's the country's skill set. So I would always strongly advise do a CPA or a CANZ. You have to only invest in one paper. It takes maximum 2-3 months to get that title.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep. We have another question where Avesh is asking that which is the dominant software in Australia, whether it's Oracle or SAP?
Look, SAP is more accepted in all the medium to bigger companies. So SAP is but look, these days we have a lot of software. So I have moved between SAP. At Real Pet Food, we use a system which is called QAD. You may not even have heard. Rather than getting linked or locked to a particular ERP product, my thinking is develop a better understanding of ERP. Essentially, all ERP products do the same thing. So don't get worried whether it's Oracle or SAP. SAP is more bigger in Australia. If you're asking me, among all the larger companies, they all use SAP.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for taking these questions of our members, and I would now request our my teammate in Committee for Members in Industry and Business, C. Hari Wadhwa, who is present with us, to please propose a formal vote. And
yeah, thank you.
I will display your certificate of appreciation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep ji. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for expressing a vote of thanks. I am Hari Wadhwa on behalf of Committee for Members in Industry and Business. And thank you very much, Sandeep ji, for such a wonderful session today. Your session was full of knowledge, and you rightly emphasized that the CAs need to think big. They need to think strategic beyond the traditional role they are already playing. And they need to think beyond the numbers. And you rightly pointed out that technology needs to be used properly today. And one needs to be aware with the latest technological development to grow in one's career. And Sandeep ji, you also emphasized that as a newly qualified CAs, they need to upgrade their skill. And they need to adopt technology and think strategically. And sir, members like you are really the gem of our profession. So thank you very much for your time and presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys have a good evening, and you guys continue with your session. So I can drop off, right, Pradeep?
Yes, Sandeep. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. It's too late in Australia for you, and have a good sleep. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope that everyone had a great time connecting on this session and getting insights on productivity tools and also on opportunities in Australia. We now move on from Sydney. We now move on from one island. We now move on to one of the smallest island country, which is Bahrain in the Middle East. And there we have our member Meenakshi Sundar, who has been a past chairman of chapter in Bahrain and has been always very supportive for all the initiatives. Welcome, Meenakshi, and thank you for all your support. Thank you for being here with us today. I'll briefly introduce Meenakshi before I hand it over to him. Meenakshi is a chartered accountant and management accountant with over 23 years of experience in handling management accounts, finance, taxation, and HR. He has been the chairperson of our Bahrain chapter in the year 2014-15. He is a John Maxwell Team Certified Speaker, trainer and coach, besides Maxwell Certified Behavioral Analyst Trainer. He is a distinguished Toastmaster, and he has supported initiatives in development of communication and leadership, whether it's through Toastmasters or through John Maxwell Team, significantly in the Middle East. And I get so many comments that whenever Meenakshi comes and whenever Meenakshi is sharing, he has great content. And Meenakshi, we are looking forward to your session again with us here again. And I request all our members present here to please give a big virtual round of applause for Meenakshi. And Meenakshi, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Prabdeep. Let me thank Institute for organizing such a wonderful initiative. It's been going on for a year and a half now.
Yes, actually, Meenakshi, yesterday was the first day of our first batch, so we celebrated 1 year yesterday.
1 year, yeah. That was amazing. It's actually a wonderful initiative, I should say, and it's really helps the young CAs in developing and getting ideas, on so many facets of the organizational office point of view, work point of view, which we not got when we finished our CA. So that's a great initiative. Let me thank the chairman and the vice chairman of the committee. Thank you, Pradeep, for your high energy that actually keeps this initiative moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me quickly share the screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Today my presentation is on communication and connection. I talk about connection, and that's what I'm going to speak more of today, and that's what in fact our previous speaker also mentioned about how it is important for us to collaborate, because today collaboration is what actually will help us to succeed at different levels, be it work, be it personal. Collaboration plays a major role. Even for countries, collaboration is becoming significant nowadays. So we're going to talk about connection and how communication actually helps you in establishing a good connection. I'll start with this quote from my mentor, John Maxwell. Connecting increases your influence in every situation. But there's another quote by John Maxwell which says that leadership is influence. We are all leaders. As a chartered accountant, you finished your, once you passed, you're going to get into a job at different levels. Probably some may start at a middle management level, some may start at a different level, depending on the organization that you're going to join in. But each of you are already taking on a leadership role in the respective organization. So if you want to have influence over your team, over the other departments, over your colleagues, then you need to have connection. Well, the question that came to my mind the moment I started doing this particular, reading about the connection, and I read this particular quote, like every chartered accountant, like someone says something, we don't take it on their face value. We have to see evidence. So I thought I'll do a bit of research to find, is it really true that connection helps you in getting your influence? And I stumbled upon an article in Harvard Business Review in February 2018 by Rebecca Knight. And you can actually search. She has written so many articles. And this particular article where she talks about, if you want to increase your influence in your workplace, you have to build connection. You have to connect with your staff, with your colleagues. It's critical. I went forward and I found this gentleman by name Dr. Jay Hall. He is an organizational psychologist. He's got a website called teamlmi.com. You can go and check there also. His team did a survey of, for about 16,000 managers and employees. And they found high-performing managers, they create an environment of connection and collaboration. Now, they were able to perform at the highest level consistently only because of the environment that they have created, where the collaboration and the connection thrives. I want to give one more piece before I go into my presentation. The top 5 common traits that you find in past US presidents. This is a research done probably about a decade ago. So obviously it doesn't include the recent president of the United States. Vision, which is very critical for any leader. Consensus building. That's a cornerstone for anyone to succeed at the highest level. Pragmatism. Looking any issue from different perspectives. Charisma. That's what actually is going to attract people to work with a person. Trustworthiness. People should trust you. And these are the characters, these are the traits that they found available in the US presidents. Now, if you remove vision, which is an internal aspect, the rest of the 4 has to do something with how you connect with people, how you work with people around you. Because consensus building means you have to work with people. Pragmatism is you are going to understand people and their perspectives. Charisma is what other people perceive in you, the way you behave with them. Trustworthiness is what we all expect. We all want to trust someone, isn't it? So, the 4 aspects has got something to do with your ability to connect as a leader. So, this is exactly where I am starting my presentation. The connection becomes a critical cornerstone for our success in any aspect in our life. It can be work, it can be personal, it can be something else, maybe your hobby. Whatever you want to do in your life, connections becomes a critical factor. Now, communication is the gateway for the connection. Because if you don't communicate, you're not going to connect. Communication has got different facets that we will cover one by one. So communication becomes the gateway for connection. Talking about communication, there are 3 levels that you have to understand that happens before a communication happens. A communication is actually comprised of these 3 elements. The first and foremost is a thought that comes in your mind. And that's what you're going to communicate. First is a thought. And then comes emotions. Your feeling. What do you feel? How do you feel? What is that? How is that thought impacting you? So that's the second aspect. And then comes the action. So how are you going to put your thought to the outside world? So these 3 becomes the communication. The second aspect actually is much bigger today. Emotion. There is a separate field, emotional intelligence. We can talk on hours and hours about that alone. But that's a very critical part here. You have a very, very slim window of opportunity to determine how the emotion is impacting your thought process. The thought has occurred and how the emotion is impacting your thought. That small window of opportunity is what you have to utilize. And that's where the emotional intelligence comes into play. I'm not going to talk about emotional intelligence today, but I'm just giving you a small, I'll say, I just open a window for you to see. So once you're able to know how emotion is impacting you, you are able to either moderate the emotion, then you can communicate. Your action can be better for everyone. But if you're not able to do that, then your action can be detrimental for yourself and for others. The way you communicate, that thought is going to impact people. So this is actually what happens in a simple communication. The 3 elements that are combined in one communication. It's a fact that you should remember in your life. When you communicate, you just think. It's all a thought that we are actually delivering to others. Our thoughts that's being delivered to others in words, in actions, and that emotion is getting added. And that's how sometimes we feel very strongly, sometimes we feel less. So this is an important thing that you should keep in your mind. A connection happens at 4 different levels. First and foremost is what people see. People connect visually. If I had to give an example, you remember a logo of companies. That's a visual connection. Moment you see the logo, this is actually this company. McDonald's, for example. You see the M and it's McDonald's. So people, we connect visually on various things. So there is a visual connection that happens. Then comes intellectual connection. Now, every communication that happens to us, we may not really connect intellectually. See, there are people who connect intellectually almost on every communication. But for normal people, normal persons, like what we do is that we connect intellectually on some occasions. In some occasions, we don't connect intellectually. We just switch off the intellectual aspect of our communication or connection. So, but let's remember, there are different levels of connection. So, intellectual connection is another aspect. Then comes emotional connection. So, politicians are actually masters in this art. They connect only emotionally. They don't allow you to think. They just make you switch off your mind. Intellectual capital is lost. You are only connecting emotionally. We connect emotionally in different situations, especially when we are vulnerable in a vulnerable situation. Most often, we connect emotionally. The situation with the communication. So remember this. The third connection happens is emotional connection. The last one is the verbal connection. See, certain words has that leave a different impact on different people. For example, if you talk about grandparents, some of you may have a very, very wonderful, your memories about your past or spending time with your grandparents. Some of you probably not have that kind of this thing. Probably you will think of a grandparent of someone else. If we talk about teacher, the word teacher can evoke a different response on different people. For some, the teacher is someone who you revere because some teacher would have transformed your life. But for some, the teacher can also be brutal. Maybe there is a teacher who was, very, very brutal in terms of punishment, and that teacher is what is going to come to your mind the moment you hear the teacher. So your connection is a different level. So verbal connection, but it evokes the different emotions in each of us. So these are 4 levels of connections. We connect visually, we connect intellectually, we connect emotionally, and then we connect verbally. I want to go deep on this particular thing, what people see. Because major part of our connection happens when we see what people do. What people see? We see behaviors. Now, for example, I want you to probably maybe we can give 30 seconds time. They can just type out what they see in this particular picture, and what they think about the person. Probably 30 seconds. Is it fine, Pradeep?
Yes, Meenakshi. That's fine. Meenakshi, before any comment comes, actually there's a request from Amit, who is saying that if you can elaborate more on the term pragmatism. Pragmatism, yeah.
Yeah, see, pragmatism is where, it's more of open-minded. Kind of, your thinking is, more elaborate, more open-minded. You are able to get a different point of view on a particular subject. You are not actually sticking on to a particular point of view. You try to take different views on a matter and then take every view and see what is the best and how you can take out best from all the views, and that can be applied in a particular situation. So that's pragmatism, where it's like pragmatism also helps you in consensus building, because it's very critical for you to understand the same issue can have different kind of opinion from different sectors of people. So you need to take everything and then make out a proper judgment. So that's pragmatism.
We have the first one to comment is Amit, who says cross argument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it's like a cross argument. If someone is trying to be like authoritative here, that also can be seen like, one person is saying like that, so probably it's an authoritative figure trying to admonish, another person is explaining. So there can be so many different things. But when we see a person doing this, and what is that image that is going to come into our mind, that this person is authoritative, this person is not going to listen to you. But maybe in this particular situation, he is behaving for various reasons, which we are not seeing, isn't it? So what people see is actually, he's a psychologist, Emily Ponin. She did a research on this, and she says that we overestimate how much we can actually judge or understand people from a short, brief encounters like job interview or social interactions. At the same time, when someone else does it for us, we say, no, that's wrong. No, you can't get a full view of me with a glimpse of me. That's what we say, isn't it? We say, when someone is judging us, we always say, no, that's not what I meant. You are wrong. That's not what I mean, when someone tells that your action, based on your action, someone is telling something, you will say, no, that's not. I meant something else. My intention is not that. My intention is not to hurt you. At the same time, when someone else does something, drop of hat, we judge. So what we are actually missing here, when we see an action, what we are missing is that we don't have access to their thoughts, their inner beliefs, their intention. Whereas when we do something, we have access to our intentions. So we know that what we are doing is actually with a good intention. Whereas someone else does, because we don't know why they are doing, we don't have access to the intention, we judge them. Why I'm talking about this particular thing is because our behavior is what people are going to see, not our intentions. Unless you have a very good connection with the other person. Now, your best friend does something wrong, you are not going to judge that person. You're not going to say, no, he is always like that. You will say, no, he's not like that. I know him personally. I know her personally. She is not like that. Maybe this is an exception. This is a mistake. Why? Because there's a strong connection. So, this behavioral aspect of people and how people judge you, how people take you, keep in mind when you have a connection, well-established connection, this point is not going to affect you. But if you don't have a connection, this is going to be a black mark on you, especially if you're in a working environment and where a boss is seeing you. He has not seen you producing result in the past, but he has caught you doing something, some mistake. So the gap is going to widen. Keep this in mind. So you have to build a connection to influence people so that your behavior is not judged every time. So we judge ourselves by our intentions, whereas others by their actions. This is what Stephen Covey says. Connection is about others. I want to give one example here. This actually happened in an international Maxwell conference. Back in, it happens every year, twice it happens. I was attending one in 2018, February, in Orlando, Florida. John Maxwell was speaking on stage. And he was talking about different types of communication aspects, what he does on stage. And there is one thing that he does normally is that he uses a cue card in between. When he's speaking, sometimes he will take a cue card and that may have a story or a joke. He explained and he took a cue card that day. It was a joke. And he started narrating the joke. He said, wow, listen, this is a very, very fantastic joke. I want you to listen to you. This is a very interesting joke. So God wanted to create lives on the earth. So he first made a donkey and said, donkey, your job is to go and work for human. You have to carry things and you will live for 40 years. And donkey was like, 40 years only carrying things? No, I can't do that. Give me 20 years only. Take 20 years back. God was said, okay, 20 years. Then God made monkey and said, your job is to jump between trees, branches, and you have to amuse people That's your job, and you will live for 30 years. Monkey was like, 30 years for jumping around trees? That's too much. Give me 15 years. Okay. Then he made a dog and said, your job is to take care of human and bark at other people. Now you will live for 20 years. Dog was like, 20 years just barking? That's too much. 10 years is okay. So God said, okay, take 10 years. Then finally he made a human, a man. He said, your job is to go and enjoy your life, and you will live for 20 years. Man was like, 20 years only for enjoying life? Why can't you give me that 20 years the donkey gave back to you, 15 years monkey gave to you, and 10 years dog gave to you? God said, take it. And that's how man lives first 20 years enjoying his life, next 20 years working like a donkey, another 15 years jumping like monkey from one house to another, and last 10 years like a dog sitting in the front of the house barking at everyone who enters the house. Now, this real lesson came after the joke. So he stood up, he came closer to us on the stage, he threw the cue card and asked, how many times you think I would have told this joke on stage? We made a guess. John has been speaking from the age of 21. He's 70 now, so 50 years of speaking, maybe 5,000 times, 8,000 times. And John said, it doesn't matter. Every time I come up on stage, I am telling this joke for the first time. I have to enjoy the joke as if I am telling this joke for the first time. Because if I don't enjoy, no one in the audience will enjoy the joke. It's not about me. It's about them. I am not speaking for me. I am speaking for them. Now, that is what I am going to give for this particular lesson. Connection is about others, not about us. We have to shift the focus from ourselves to them. When you do that, you are going to have so many people willing to talk to you because you make them the focus. Go back in your life. You will see you would have enjoyed someone's company only when they focused on you. Same thing. You shift the focus, others. Connection is about others. I love this quote from George Carlin. George Carlin is an American comedian. He's no more, but he's got some fantastic comedy. You can go to YouTube and find very, very thought-provoking comedy. He says, have you ever noticed that anybody who is going slower than you is an idiot? And anyone who is faster than you is a maniac. And that's how we see, because we see from our point of view. We are right and all others are wrong. So we have to shift the focus to others. What actually stops us from doing this? Ego. We are so self-focused. Our ego stops us from moving our focus towards anyone else. We feel lost. Moment we do that actually, isn't it? Moment we are not the focus, we feel like as if, something is lost. But if you want to connect, you have to overcome that. It's not possible every time. But every time you make an attempt, you're going to win one more time. You're going to get one more connection. It's not possible with everyone. Agreed. But try with one more person. Change with one more person. That's exactly what you should do. Insecurity, because we are not sure, whether it is going to help us or not. Maybe if you want to be nice to that person can probably take advantage of you. There's insecurity. Especially in the office environment, you want to be helping others. What is the benefit you are going to get? You may not. Personally, I have actually helped people. I not got any benefit. In fact, on the contrary, in the early part of my career, one of my colleagues who actually got the help from me, he got promoted. And I was not promoted. I actually, felt so sorry for helping him. Till my father told me that it's not going to, it doesn't matter actually on long term. You're not going to feel anything. You have to leave it. And today I can tell you, it doesn't really matter. But that person is still in touch because I helped him. And he has that in his mind. So insecurity is the second aspect that comes in between you and the connection. immaturity. People can be immature in different stages of life. We all are immature at different aspects of life. Some are immature across, but all of us are immature in some aspect of our life because we have not experienced it. So we may be immature, we may act immature, but we have to realize where we are immature and try to overcome that. The last is failing to value people. It's very important that you value people around you. If you don't value them, they're not going to value you. Only when you value them, they're going to value you. Now, your best friend, why you have best friend? Why you call them your best friend? Because they value you for who you are. That's it. That's why you love them, isn't it? So exactly. When you value people for whoever they are, as they are, give them the value. You appreciate them. They want to be in your connection. So this is another aspect that you should keep in mind. Connection is about others. These are the barriers that comes in between. Now this is something that there is a talk by social psychologist, I think, Amy Cuddy. He wrote a book. I think it's called. It's on the body postures. I don't remember the name of the book actually. She says that every time you meet a person, 3 questions comes in. Every time you meet someone or someone meets you, 3 questions that comes in our mind. Do you care for me? Can you help me? Can I trust you? But when you tick these questions, you are going to gain one more connection. Trust, of course, is the major part of it always. So when you care for someone, when you help someone, you are going to actually build trust. And they are going to be in your connection. Connection is a skill, which means we can all learn it. It's not something, difficult. It's easy. You can practice. You can learn and practice. That's why I put this particular slide. So let me now touch upon something that we can do, practices that you can do to establish connection. The first and foremost thing is finding common ground. Now, you finished CA, you got a job in a different city, for example. You move to that city. What is that you're going to look in that city? You're going to find, maybe if you are a particular, say for example, you play tennis or you play table tennis, you're going to find clubs where you can continue playing table tennis or tennis. Because then you're going to find people who are like-minded. Or maybe you try to find, is there a community club where you can enroll yourself so that you can feel comfortable. It's a new city for you. Which is going to help you find a common ground with that city is finding these people. So you're finding common ground in different ways. So with people also you have to find common ground. What do you see here? Maybe you can type it out in the chat box.
Request all those who are here to please share your comments by writing on the portal and pressing the submit button. Yeah, whatever comes to your mind, that will help up to open a lot of things. We haven't received any comment yet, Meenakshi.
Is that the photo is very confusing?
Yeah, I'm also thinking that, but it. Yeah,
so what are the images?
Two faces I see.
2 faces, yes, yeah. So whatever image that comes to your mind, no moment you see, what image you are seeing. So 2 faces actually is one thing. I think I'll proceed. Because if someone is giving any reply now, it's not, we can proceed actually.
Yeah.
So if you look at the black is your focus, you're going to see two faces actually. Because the white is giving you 2 faces. But if you're focusing on the white, you're going to see something like a cup.
Yeah.
That's appearing in the middle. Okay.
Right.
So that's exactly the point, because anything that has got, you will have different opinions,
Hmm.
but it's appearing on the same image. It's the same image, but you have two different opinions. So
Yeah, Meenakshi, I would like to touch upon one point and ask you a question. When this image came on the screen, I didn't saw two faces, and I was focusing on that black and trying to find out that what it can be. Then after some time, I could find two faces in it. So now what's happening is that I'm not able to focus on black and find something out of it. I'm only seeing the two faces. What may be the reason for it?
no, that's actually a very good point, because sometimes what happens is that, no, what comes to our mind first thing about a particular area or topic that we're discussing, we tend to hold on to that opinion. No.
Yeah.
So when you're actually looking at it, you already seen two faces. So two faces is
Yeah.
not going to go off actually. Even now, when I will only see two faces actually. You're right.
Hmm. Yeah.
I only see two faces because that's what has come to my mind for the first time. So
Right.
only when I shift the focus, because I know there are two pictures in this particular image. That knowledge is actually was what is giving me that, okay, if I shift my focus towards the white aspect, if I focus on the white side, then I can see a black image,
Right.
because predominant portion of the thing is actually in the middle. No, our focus is in the middle, which is black.
Right.
And once you're seeing the black, you're only seeing the white, the two faces of white.
Right.
That's what is actually giving you that impact.
Okay.
Well, but that's what happens in our life also. Sometimes because we focus on one particular area, and that area gives us a particular image or a particular opinion, and we want to hold on to that opinion. No?
Yeah.
So for-
Right. Right. Actually, sorry, Meenakshi. We have Deepak who said that two faces and a vase. He says he is.
two faces, yeah. Because two
And
faces
a vase. And a
was also, yeah, correct. Yes. So that's exactly the point here. So everything, what happens, there can be multiple opinions. It comes from the same subject matter. People can have different opinions. So we need to understand the common ground is actually in that matter, not in the opinion.
Right.
We hang on to the opinion, we miss an opportunity for finding common ground. We come back to the subject and agree that there can be multiple opinions. We will move towards finding a common ground. So barriers to common ground, preconceived notions. Now I can give one example for this. When I was working in my first company, where I was moved out from internal audit to handle accounts in a factory. And when I was moved out, people around me, specifically seniors, who are my well-wishers, they called me and said, this particular posting has got a history. History that whoever has been moved there, they have been moved only as a punishment posting. So we don't understand why you have been moved here. So you have to be careful. But somehow, my mind was not registering any of these ideas. So I went there with open mind and I actually worked, and it helped me actually when I was open-minded and I was working there. I was able to get a good connection with the management team there, and it helped me to have a direct contact with the director of finance of the company. So I moved in. My promotions, aspect of promotions really got multiplied because of my posting there, which is considered as actually as a punishment posting. So preconceived notions can actually, take you away the sheen that you can get in your life. So you have to know what preconceived notions you are having about people, about places. That's going to come in between you and connection with everything in your life. Assumptions. Now we have assumptions about people, about places. I had one particular incident where about 6-7 years back, one of my colleagues is a department head. There was one particular issue that is remaining unsolved because I was not willing to talk to him. I was assuming that this person is adamant. He's not going to give in. So there is no meaning in talking to him. Until one day my boss forced me to talk to him. And you know what? Within 5 minutes of the conversation, that man said, let's sit and solve the problem. The problem that was pending for 6 months got solved in a matter of 10 minutes. So assumptions can be a biggest barrier in our life. We assume so many things about people, about work, about different aspects of organizations. Question every assumption that you're having in your mind, because assumptions is a biggest barrier for your growth in your organization, in your personal life. Lack of perspective, which we discussed earlier. Even yesterday, Rajiv was talking about perspective in your negotiation skills. He's talking about how you should have perspective of multiple areas before you go for negotiation. So having perspective really matters. Pragmatism is again having, one of the aspects of pragmatism is having perspective from every aspect, every direction. What choices we have for finding common ground? Availability. Now, this is very, very critical. You have to be available. If you want to have a connection with someone, especially if in your organization you want to be in the good books of different people, you have to be available for them. I'm not saying that you have to work late in the night. No, not that actually. When I say available, they want something, you should be able to accommodate and deliver it. So you should be available. I'll give you one example of one of my colleagues who unfortunately is no more. The salesman, and he was a top salesman in our organization. Last year, I was talking to one of my friends who happened to be our customer. And he was talking about this salesman. And he said, you're not going to get another person like him. I was like, why you are saying that? Then he said, see, this person was available anytime I call him. He will pick up the call, or he will call back. Even when my requirement is something that he is not selling, he will help me to find an alternative buyer, alternative seller from where I can buy it actually. He was available for me. Now, that is what actually made him a top salesman continuously for almost 3 or 4 years. And he was a great person helping people. So you should be available. Now, when I say available, again, depending on so many factors, but when you accommodate a request from another team member or different departments, or especially if the person is in a very high influential position, you accommodate their request and somehow manage to do it, you are going to have a connection established. And that's going to help you a lot in your growth in the organization. Listening. Again, this also, I think Rajiv was mentioning about listening in the negotiation skills, how critical it is for you to listen. Listening is a major aspect of connection. You like someone only because they were willing to listen to you. That's the same aspect. Reverse, if you want someone to like you, you should be willing to listen to them. So listen intently. Listen patiently. So listening is a very critical aspect for connection. Likability. Now, if you do all these things, obviously you will become likable. Now, likability is a major factor in collaboration, in connection, in your growth aspect. Because the moment you like someone, that's what I said in the beginning also. The moment you like someone, you will excuse the person when that person makes a mistake. But if you don't like the person, same mistake, you will view it in a different way. Your reaction will be different. Same thing goes with the management, same thing goes with your bosses. So in your career, when you become a likable person, your growth is in a different plane. When I say likable, I'm not saying that you should be a yes man. You should never say no. Not that kind of likability. Likability is when they know that you can deliver what they wanted, and you are someone who listens, who is willing to go that extra, mile to deliver. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you should go and say yes to everything. No, don't mistake me for that. Likability is also, if you see there is one book that I'm going to recommend in the end. It's called Influence by Robert Cialdini, and he says how likability plays a major role in influencing people. Keep it simple. Communication should be very simple. The words that you choose, the way you want to talk, make it simple and easy for the others to understand. Depends on what different people have different requirements. Some people are more number oriented, so you have to communicate in number terms. Some are more in a story, emotional aspect. So you have to mix. So you have to understand how they are communicating, and accordingly you have to modify your communication. But keep it simple. How to keep it simple? Talk to people, not above them. Meaning, give them what they wanted. Don't try to use jargons or try to make it as if something's big. Straight and easy. Get to the point. Say it clearly. Now, get to the point is something which is very critical, because many times what happens is when you want to communicate with something, most of us tend to tell the whole story. You know what happened? I went there and then this person called me. That has got no relevance to what you want to communicate. So go directly to the point. Especially if it's official communication, get to the point directly. That's very critical. Say it clearly and say it less words. Make your communication interesting. This is very, very critical. Your teachers or professors who you enjoyed, there are professors who are completely boring, but some professors are very, very interesting and you want to attend their classes because they make it interesting. They work hard to make it interesting. It's not easy. If you want to make your communication interesting, you have to really work hard. Do that work. Make it interesting, because that's going to give you, very, very, so many ways in which you can actually communicate, you can connect with people. So make your communication interesting. I want to give you 4 tips for making your communication interesting. It's 4 H's, I call it. Humor, something that will make people laugh. Now, but this humor has to be not personally attacking anyone. Don't ever use humor which will attack someone, which will put down other person. You can put on yourself. You can make humor on yourself, but not on others. Humor is relevant to the context. Heart, captivate people's emotions, Understanding, empathize. So speak to the heart. Hope, something that will inspire people. Now when for example, in official environment, when your boss calls you and says that I want this to be done, instead of saying it's not possible, if you make it in a positive way, yes, of course we can do it. Maybe we have to work around a bit. Maybe it will take extra time. So you start with the positivity in the beginning. He is going to listen to you. But if you start with negativity, he or she is going to switch off and say this person is always negative. So bring in hope in your communication. How? By being positive always. Help. Your communication should be helping people. So motivating people. Help people. So this is actually another way of establishing connection. I want to finish with this slide. I think one more slide actually after this. We have another 10 minutes now. Pradeep?
Yes, Meenakshi, we have 10 minutes.
Okay, so see, this is actually a very famous rule. Some of you would have heard it in a different way, saying that no, this is how body language and vocal variety plays a major role in your communication. But this actually rule is very simple. What it says is 7% is what the words you speak, 38% is your tone, and 55% your body language. How? I'll tell you, body language has got various aspects, your eye contact or expressions, gestures, postures. All of it actually, like example, yesterday even Rajiv was talking about when you are negotiating, if you move forward, which means you are being curious. Now, if you are moving forward without actually showing curiosity, people will know you are faking it, isn't it? So, what is that Mehrabian is saying here is authenticity. Your body language has to go along with your words, congruent. If you are not believing in what you are saying, your body language will not match with your words. So your body language will overpower your words. That's why word has got 7%. People look at you and not hear your words. You may say, yes, I want to do it. But if you say, yeah, we can do it. But if your body language is weak, your body is actually saying, no, you're not hopeful. You're not, positive about it. They know what you're saying, isn't it? So authenticity in your body language, which means what you are speaking is what you are actually believing. Then tonality. I just want to give this. This can be told in different ways. Let's see if you can do it. You can say encouraging. Yeah, let's see if you can do it. Encouraging you can say. You can say threatening. Yeah, let's see if you can do it. Threatening actually. Challenging. Let's see if you can do it. Or ridiculing. Let's see if you can do it. So how you say is going to give a different connotation. The words are same, but how are you saying makes a whole difference. And that's what people are listening. The communication and connection happens. It's more than words. I just want to give one story here. One of my friend here in Bahrain, her mother came from India, and she is from my place, Tamil Nadu. So she only speaks Tamil. But she was very close to a neighbor here in Bahrain who happens to be a Gujarati woman, same age, who cannot speak anything other than Gujarati and a bit of Hindi. But these two ladies were communicating every day and they were sharing recipes. They were making actually, she was preparing Gujarati food and that lady was preparing South Indian food. How was the communication happening? Words actually has got no meaning when you are able to connect through heart. So, connection is more than the words that you speak. I want to conclude with this particular slide, which says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Theodore Roosevelt. So if you want to have connection, a strong connection and established connection on a long-term basis, you need to care for people genuinely. This is the book I was talking about, Influence of Persuasion, Psychology. Influence of Persuasion is actually, this is a fantastic book. I recommend that you have to read this book. This gives you various aspects of how actually human mind works and how marketing is done. It's an amazing book. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you. I'm ready for questions, if any.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Meenakshi. Meenakshi, considering, the leadership and communication skills being very important for our growth and success, I would like to ask you that as a Toastmaster, we do different paths. We take leadership roles. We work hard on communication. You have done everything. So what you have enjoyed more on, or what may have benefited more in terms of growing yourself? If you can throw some light on it.
Okay. So my journey actually is, I will, Toastmasters journey has got so many years. I will say I'll divide into two parts actually. In the initial part of my journey, I was focusing more on communication, less on leadership.
Right.
Then towards, I'll say, third or fourth year onwards, I started working both leadership and communication. And communication more from the point of view of speaking on stage. When the leadership also came together, I realized the speaking on stage is not the only aspect of communication. Speaking to people, speaking to your team, getting the work done, how you're going to communicate, it matters the most. So that aspect came into picture during that leadership journey. So it's a different aspect. It's completely different dimension of communication because you need to be with your people. You need to be available all the time. There are so many things that comes into play. So this is how I know this is one thing that changed. But the major change happened after I joined the John Maxwell team. Because, valuing people for who they are is something that I picked up from there. It's not that I was not valuing people earlier, but probably I was more, the self-obsession was always there. I want to win the contest. I want to, be the top speaker. But once I attended the conference of John Maxwell team and then I got certified, I learned from there, valuing people becomes more important. So whatever I speak has to add value to the people. If not, it doesn't make sense. I'm not speaking for myself any longer. I speak for, for the audience, for the people, what I can do for them. So this is the growth actually that has happened in me over a period of 12 years in Toastmasters. Right.
So you are continuing your journey of participating in contests, right? So how you see yourself, the one thing which comes in speaking well is a practice and a good script, right? Good script writing, because sometimes
Yes.
we confuse on that when we say that we lead communication is more than words. We at that point of time we cannot ignore writing our script. When voice modulation and body language will make a difference for us on the stage, but the script writing also becomes very important, because as you also said about what you learned about valuing people or valuing things from John Maxwell team. So as a speaker, as you are continuing your journey of competing, how you see yourself as a script writer compared to you were 10-12 years back?
Massive change actually, yes. Because you see, even today, of course, when I write my script, it starts with a very simple writing. And then it actually, I keep developing. I have a team of members with whom my mentors, with whom I share and discuss, and so we try to change word by word, sentence by sentence. How we can actually polish saying same thing, how it can actually appeal to different people in a different way. Adding questions, or so script writing becomes. In fact, to say about Toastmaster speech or a speech on stage, script writing is actually the cornerstone, because your body language and vocal variety flows from the way you write your script.
Right.
I give one example in one of my speech earlier where I speak about my teacher, and he's asking me a question. So if the script just says the teacher asked me a question, what is Newton's second law or Newton's third law? I don't know. And he came me and said Newton's third law is every action has equal and opposite reaction. But how the script followed is teacher asked, what is Newton's third law? I know it comes after second law, but third law. So I was, hesitating. So body language comes in picture. And then he says, show me your hand. He canes me. So then I react. Oh, the cry.
Right.
Then he says, every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Right.
So see, the way the script comes, it gives a scope for body language, vocal variety, humor. Everything comes here. So script writing actually becomes a major thing. In fact, script writing can be a very elaborate subject on its own, actually.
Right, true. Thank you so much for your insights, Meenakshi. I would now request C. Hari Vadva from Committee for Members in Industry and Business is present here to please propose a formal vote of thanks to you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabdeep ji. And thank you very much, Meenakshi Sundarji, for such a wonderful session. In your session, you mentioned certain very important points, like in the office environment, one needs to have a great connection with the colleagues and with bosses and everyone. And for a great connection, communication comes handy. So communication is the gateway for a great connection. This was a wonderful point you mentioned. And you also talked about emotional connection and intellectual connection you talked about. And through an effective communication, one can have an effective connection. And one is able to have an effective connection when one can easily influence the people. And for having an effective communication, you emphasize on simplicity. Simplicity is the key to have an effective communication. You mentioned that jargons should be avoided as far as possible, and humor should be added to the extent it is possible, and it can be. And I'm sure our participants would have really enjoyed this session. Overall, it was a wonderful session, and thank you very much for such a good, wonderful session from your side. Thank you, Meenakshi Sundarji.
Yeah, thank you, Meenakshi. Before we close for the day, I request our members to be present here tomorrow when we have our last session, where we will be talking about opportunities in Middle East and all big Middle East countries representative who are the chair of our chapter, who will be present here, moderated by past chair of one of our chapters, C. Nirlip Bhatt. And we will close with a valedictory session where our chairman and vice chairman will be present. So please be here with us today. Stay safe tomorrow. Please stay safe. Take care. Good night. Bye bye. Thank you.